Welcome to the April 12th, 2025 meeting of our Digital Genealogy Group, a special interest group of the Alberta Family History Society. The key topic is using the Family Tree Analyzer software, a free tool for cleaning up genealogy data just using your GEDCOM file. Today's presenter is Stephen Henley, one of our members and a user of FT Analyzer.
I mentioned last time about a piece of software called Family Tree Analyzer, and it's a free Windows app. It's been in development for quite a few years. It's more of a passion project for the fellow who developed it, but I'll do the screen share here starting shortly, but just a couple things in the background. The main reason for this app is there's a lot of things that some of the other apps have or some of the other websites have as far as analysis that you might want to do. And some of the tools that this has, none of them have. So if there's something that you're thinking of, gee, I would like to be able to, then you might want to look at Family Tree Analyzer, download a GEDCOM and slice and dice it to see if you might find that piece of information you're trying to find. So I'm going to share, this is not going to be a big fancy presentation. I've taken a bunch of screenshots out of the application as I was working with it over the last couple of days using my own data just to show some of the things that you can do with it. It'd be impossible to really do it as a live demo. I just found that because it's Windows and I primarily use a Mac and I'm running it under emulation, and then you got Zoom in there, and depending on which report you want to run, the report might take 5 minutes to run and yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to go through a presentation here that's a bunch of screenshots that I've put in a keynote presentation. So let's see what happens here. Let me find the right, I'll just share that. Okay. I'm going to just leave it in my own personal, slide sorting view so that I can get to a slide if somebody wants to go back and look at it. So
it looks good from this end, Steve.
Okay. I can get this out of the way. Okay, so the release version I'm working with here, you would just download it from the Microsoft Store. It's the developer had kind of put it on the back burner for a while, but it looks like he's starting to work on it again. And like I say, it's a labor of love project, so documentation is sparse. But I haven't had it like you're essentially taking your GEDCOM and you're reading it and letting it look for different reports for you. You don't use it to change your data or anything like that. It's just to give you another view of information that you've already got somewhere else. So if you when you load up a GEDCOM, the first thing that happens is it goes through the file and it loads sources in there, loads the individuals, loads the families, relationships, etc. And you can see here, like in my example, you can see all the date parsing that it had a problem with. You know how you always end up with everybody's different version of a date if you're importing something from another tree. So that's something that I find a lot of times, like I like using programs that have a graphic interface, but I also find that when you're trying to find all your date errors, it's a pain in the, wazoo to go through, and you might see that you've more easily, in some cases, you might see it more easily with a text view than trying to go through the graphic interface of Ancestry or your Reunion or whatever software program you're using. But so that's one example that I find with. And so after it's loaded up your GEDCOM and starts looking at things, so you get some statistics right away about how many direct ancestors, marriage relationships, things like that. This tree that I was loading was a recent GEDCOM of mine export from Ancestry that was, it's about, I don't know, about 70,000 individuals in it right now. And here's something I found right away when I haven't looked at this in ages. And like when I first started putting my genealogy into Ancestry, one thing I thought was, that custom GEDCOM fields would be a good idea, which is not, to me, is not a good idea. And I also see I made some really busted, but doing this late at night or whatever, when I, where I put in, essentially created custom um, custom GEDCOM fields where essentially what I wanted was a title for the source of the information it was putting in. So that's an easy one that, stares me right in the face here when I fire this up. So, and there's an example, how I ended up putting in a, instead of a category, anyhow. So, can everybody see these tab bars across the top here, okay? Where I'm,
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
So, essentially, this is just a series of different tools that allow you to get different searches of data and run different reports and things like that. So I'm just going to walk through some of the examples. So, you can get birth data, like if you're looking for categorizations of years when people were born or things like that. So, report of the distribution of the age ranges you have in your tree, whether that's interesting or not, who knows, but things like this, like relationships to the root person, how many cousins of whatever level you've got in your tree. This is an interesting one. List of possible census records that are incorrectly recorded as notes. Like where you may have a census record that you've miscategorized. All sorts, just by loading up your GEDCOM and just walking through this and looking, oh, gee, maybe that's something I should fix. Some of the reports that you can run, like ages of the parents, older parents, you can see what I circled here. How many people you got in your tree are over 99? In most cases, that's an indication, as you'll see later, it's an indication that you either don't have a birth date or you don't have a death date. So that's a way of using that. So you can also look at people who died near their birthday. Might be an indication of something common in a family or historical relationship to a disease or something that was running through at the time. So individuals who died within 15 days of their birthday in January. Families who might be missing a child between the marriage date and the first child born. So that's something that you see sometimes in like Family Search does that. Most of the time I find in Family Search, I don't know how they arrive at that. Most of the time it just seems that it's totally speculative because I don't know how they pick it out of the air in Family Search. It just never seems to be valid. But at least with this one, I can look right away and I can see, who am I talking about in a broad distribution. So maybe I've got a bunch of kids in the same family. Families with only one or no parent. So there's another area, something I got to fill in. Individuals who are aged over 99. So this is usually what it means. It means you probably don't have a birth date or a death date in there. So an example with my own data. And so as you work through the tabs of things of reports that you can run, there's tab upon tab upon tab, like depending on how far you want to drill down. So some of the main lists are individuals, families, sources, occupations. And then within that, one of the things I like is that a lot of the reports, if there's a logical relationship, it's not like he just generated a text file. In a lot of cases, like, so here I'm looking at sources. Well, if you want to double click, then you can go to the list of facts that are referenced by that source. So there's other ways of, cascading off of the relationships of from one report to another. Occupations, that's something I always want to find that I never, the website programs never seem to give you a good way of finding them unless you've tagged them all, or location data. I don't have a lot of good examples here in my screenshots that I've done at this point because I couldn't quite get the geocoding working properly when I was first looking at the app, probably just because me running under my Windows emulator. But that's something I found really helpful before, like going from one location to another. Like you can find all the people who are in a particular city and then go to the county level or the state level, or more easily go through your relationships by location. That's one possibility where it might help. Here's looking at another selection of some of the errors to find in a visual form, and you can toggle all of these settings, if you're looking for specific ones. Errors and fixes, so loose births, somebody doesn't seem to be connected to somebody else at all, or bad birth date data. Loose deaths. I know I'm just blasting through this, but I don't like, the main thing is I just want to try and show as many things as possible to people about why you might want to fire it up and have a look. So, and this is why I didn't want to, an example of why I didn't want to do a live demo here. Like sometimes, like, let's say I want to see all of my direct ancestors. Well, it takes it a while to calculate through all of that. So I started this at 7:35 when I ran it, and it took 2 minutes to find the surnames of my direct ancestors, which isn't too bad. But if we were sitting here watching that spin for 2 minutes while I was talking, you might find that annoying. And then running a blood relatives report as well, showing them by surname. Like really the thing about this is, if there's any way you think you might want to look at your data that the program you're using right now isn't showing you, just download Family Tree Analyzer and open the GEDCOM and have a look through. The census reports are really helpful. This is a couple of screenshots from the web page, and there isn't great documentation. I mean, he's a programmer who's doing this for his own use primarily, and you're just going to have to go in and have a look and see if there's something in there that you think you might use. But the census reports, he colors them to give you some coding about whether there's any census information attached or not, whether you've got all the census info for that person. And one of the things I like about it is that you can, depending on what services you're using, like you can go in and you can choose, okay, I want to use the census data from Family Search from the UK, or I want to use the census data from Ancestry from the States, or, whatever. You've got other ways of choosing how you get the information. So I want to use the Ancestry, maybe you've got a Scotland's People account and you want to use the census data from Scotland's People. And so I just picked, Ireland here, so you can see all, even though I'm researching Ireland, I see here there are all sorts of people in my tree who I don't have the census data for. Maybe it doesn't exist, or maybe I just didn't check. Another screenshot of a census report. If anybody is using Lost Cousins, like I didn't quite get this linked together beforehand, but you can create a GEDCOM custom field to use to link whether you are that person, whether you've uploaded that data in Lost Cousins. And I used that Lost Cousin quite a while ago when I was before I started using Ancestry a lot more. And I have found relationships. It's just another way of putting your information out there and maybe finding somebody. I've had people contact me through Lost Cousins who haven't contacted me through any other source. And I also, one of the very first people who contacted me through Lost Cousins was a distant cousin who I knew was in my maternal tree in the UK from Australia, but I didn't know how to get in contact with her. And she said, "Hey, you're so another way of putting your information out there." So that's my quick and dirty blasting fast through a whole bunch of different screens to, just to give you an idea that like I find it a useful tool, and I'm not trying to do like a demonstration on how you use it, just trying to show people that if you're thinking about other ways of trying to find something out that you're not getting in one of your software tools right now, then have a look at this and see if it helps you find something and clean something up. So that's about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve, for that. Good. I'm going to mention a couple of things, if I may. If you want to release the screen share,
Yeah,
keep that
sure.
handy. There'll be questions on it coming up.
Stop share. There we go.
There we go.
Mm.
I just wanted to mention that in the chat, I sent a link to the Family Tree Analyzer website. Steve had one slide showing that site, but if you go there, you can find more information on it and also how to get to the official Microsoft Store to be able to download it. And I also thought I would show people how the package, how you get started on it. So I'm going to do a screen share myself, probably on screen 3. And I have Family Tree Analyze. Where are we here? If that's showing up.
Yeah.
Family Tree Analyzer I have as a shortcut on my desktop. And if I open it up, this is what it looks like. Let me minimize some stuff in the background so you can see it better. So this is my Family Tree Analyzer. I might have an older version, but anyway. So if you can use Family Tree Analyzer in a couple of ways. One is Diane was bringing in GEDCOMs from another researcher in her area. If you want to vet somebody else's GEDCOM before you import it into yours, FT Analyzer is a great tool for that. Secondly, Family Tree Analyzer is a magnificent tool, as Steve illustrated, for analyzing your own results. So let's say you've got legacy. Let's say you've got TNG, what have you. Use FT Analyzer as an independent validator of your information in there. So you just take your legacy or Family Tree Maker or what have you, create a GEDCOM out of it, and then import into FT Analyzer. Now I have, I'll bring this to the screen. I have a GEDCOM file, benedict.ged. It's kind of old, but it's not that big. And the fastest way I find of getting information in Family Tree Analyzer is I just go to the file that's in my file folder, I drag it, and I go into the center of Family Tree Analyzer, and I drop it there. Boom, I'm done. Or you can use the file import feature that's up there. Now, let me get, it's busy analyzing, that's why I can't get, it's still loading. It should be finished just about now. No. So you can see in the background, it has brought in the information. Unfortunately, it's still working away. So I'll stop screen share and turn it back to any questions directed to Steve. Go ahead, guys. You have stunned them, Steve.
I'm
It's a
just trying,
great tool.
yeah, it just, that's my suggestion is just if there's something you're not finding in the tool you're using right now, there's this report or some way you're thinking, gee, I'd like to know this, then open it up in Family Tree Analyzer, have a wander through the tabs and the reports, and you might find what you're looking for.
Yeah. So I'm all set with my information, and here's the tabs that Steve was talking about. So my heavy lifting was doing the drag and drop. After that, FT Analyzer did all the hard work for me. So now I can see lists of individuals, families, a list of surnames. It's churning away there to pull that up. It had to do a data retrieve. So alphabetically, there's all the surnames. Here's all the locations for my ancestors. I got a lot in Ontario. Boom, 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 boom. And occupations, facts, sources. Oh no, data errors. It can hardly be any in this list, right, Steve? So
No,
here you, so let me just, I can't zoom it out, but I have choices. These are check boxes. If I just want to look at birth after father, age 50, I just unclick all the others. It narrows it down. Oh, they've all disappeared. So I have some marriage before age 13. Oh my goodness. I might have some incestuous information in my family tree. But these are great places now to look for further problems, whether it's in my legacy or family tree maker or TNG or ancestry or what have you. So it's got a whole variety of tests here. Duplicate information, uh, births and deaths, census, as he pointed out, lost cousins, color reports, treetops, world wars. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. It's very easy to use. Uh, you know, basically one drag and drop, and then it does everything else for you in terms of organizing your data, problem areas, opportunities. It's a nice safeguard if you are bringing in GEDCOMs from other people. It's a good check for yourself, you know, when on a cold wintry afternoon when you got nothing better to do, just FT analyze it. You might have multiple trees, so you might have multiple GEDCOMs. So before you do a merge operation, for example, it might be worthwhile doing this. Diane's absorbing this, so go for it, Diane.
Questions. Can you create new tabs? For instance, I have used hashtags in Legacy to indicate where I have recorded a DNA match. And if I wanted to go in and select all the ones with a certain hashtag, could I create a tab for that?
the tabs in the application would be the application itself. You might need to look at creating
Custom
a
search?
custom fact or something like that. Maybe, Like if the data's in the GEDCOM, it will analyze it. But I don't think I haven't seen anything where you can like roll your own report or script something together or anything like that. So
No, I just wondered, like, if you have used something that's unique to a program that should have come over, can you find it?
if
Uh,
if it's in the GEDCOM, it will, if it's in the GEDCOM file,
it would find it.
the program will do something with it. But
Okay.
if it's not in the, like, everything he's doing is based off of what's in the GEDCOM, unless it's some of those things like the geocoding or lost cousins or anything like that, where it, is connecting to another
Database.
service or database. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's free. And
Yeah.
it's relatively easy to get going on it. It may not be your tool of choice in the end, but it's just another tool to have in your arsenal, which is great.
Okay. My observation is that it could be a less expensive way to get some of the stuff that's done in Pro Tools and Ancestry. Like, they don't have the scope in Ancestry, but they do have some of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some of this is why I used to use it more, was there were things that I wanted to get out of Ancestry that I wasn't finding. And right now I'm trying to get I've got tons of data and I want to try and put a stake in the ground to get it cleaned up before I go any further. Like I've got data between all the different web services they have and the different DNA tree, etc. So, I want to, before I keep creating more messy links, I want to validate the ones that are really important to me. I don't care, like, part of my strategy is like I will suck a whole bunch of data into my tree, some of it that maybe isn't really important, but the stuff, like, I really care about, my important DNA links and my important ancestors. There's certain keystone people that these individuals are the ones that their relationships have to be absolutely, nailed down, and other ones, if they're a little fuzzy, I don't care about. But like I say, like sometimes, like just being able to look at it as a text list instead of trying to hunt through the graphic interface, like sometimes just by scanning through, you go, oh, how did I do that? Like, because you're not predetermining your decision, you're just letting it go by and saying, you idiot. Like that.
Much of this is available in the legacy program, but you have to do specific searches, find the information. Yeah, it's very good to help you do analysis, but it targets what kind of information it's going to find.
Yeah.
I can see the value of using it on GEDCOM from my ancestry tree, because every once in a while I, add something, but then I forget to download it to put it on Legacy or something else. So that would be really helpful to use it for seeing what I've got on the ancestry tree that I don't have elsewhere. I think that'd be good. The other thing, and I won't take all your time, but I'm interested in the Lost Cousins link. And I haven't used Lost Cousins really a lot in their tree part, but that would be an interesting analysis.
Yeah, I got to go back and look at it again because I didn't get far enough to tie it into properly into FT Analyzer current, see if I'm up to date or not. So,
Is there a program or
pardon?
there a charge for Lost Cousins? I have never used it.
You can go to a certain level for free. Um, it's not really a charge, but you have to, you essentially have to contribute a certain level of
Info.
info to get to a point where you really get value out of it. So it's a chicken and the egg, like, but the fellow who runs that, like he's got some great newsletters that he sends out. And one of the things I like is the way the website is tied into all of the census data is it really helps you validate that you have the proper census data for your families. That's another thing that sometimes we're looking at it in Ancestry, it just kind of, but he ties it directly into the each specific category of that particular census. Like, so if it's the 1881 English census, whatever the coding is for that census, that's what you can put into Lost Cousins. You can't put in any other weird extraneous, so
Yeah.
so I see it as more of another data validation tool, and that's what it's useful for.
So you can't just take a GEDCOM and upload it.
No,
Yeah.
you do have, yeah, you have to take your families and enter them into Lost Cousins. Yeah. So that, so it takes time, but if there's certain, again, if there's certain puzzles that you're trying to solve, it might be worthwhile,
Yeah.
concentrating on one set of families.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll find, like I said, I see it's as another way of putting out,
Yeah.
like I have had people contact me through Lost Cousins because they say, how come you've got, so-and-so in here, that kind of thing. So.
Right.
Okay, any other questions for Steve? Steve just gave you a whole pile of homework.
Just trying to give people other ways of doing things.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for that, Steve.
Yeah, no problem.
I can endorse it myself. It's a great tool to have.